that on January 10th of this year, 3 music industry professionals traveled to
Foogiano
Dallas.
just walked out of prison, and the very first move he made, he set Pooh Shiesty as his profile picture. Not a studio flick, not a I'm back post, no freedom celebration energy. He hopped on Instagram and made the face of a man sitting in federal custody facing life in prison. His whole identity, his entire front page, that's not random. That's not coincidence. That's a statement. That's a man fresh off 5 years in a federal cell saying as loud as possible without speaking, I picked a side, and it's not Gucci Mane's. Y'all need to hear this because this situation is way past rap beef. Now we're talking about an alleged kidnapping at gunpoint. We're talking about an AK-style pistol being pressed on one of the biggest names in Atlanta rap history. We're talking about federal charges that could mean life behind bars. We're talking about a man's own artist, his father, and a full crew flying from Memphis to Dallas on a mission. And now, the one artist Gucci kept on the roster while everyone else got dropped just came home and instantly switched sides. This just turned into something else. Gang lock in, because it only gets wilder from here. Let me break it down from the start, because if you don't know the backstory, you won't feel how heavy this really is. Gucci Mane, Radrick Delantic Davison, 6 Atlanta, one of the architects of trap music alongside T.I. and Jeezy. This is a man who helped shape the sound that took over hip-hop from the early 2000s forward. His breakout track, I See, the legendary mixtape, run his influence on Young Thug. His impact on Atlanta's whole scene, that's all stamped Gucci Mane as a certified legend. He's also been in and out of prison, came home, got clean, got married, got focused. He rebranded into a businessman running 1017 Records, the new 1017, and rebuilding the label around a new wave of hungry talent now. Pooh Shiesty Lontrell Williams Jr. out of Memphis, Tennessee. Gucci signed him to 1017 in 2021, and he took off immediately. A Back in Blood with Lil Durk became one of the hardest records of that era, over 100 million streams. The man was a problem. He had everything the label needed: buzz, hunger, and real street backing, but before his career could fully peak, the law stepped in. He caught a firearms conspiracy case out of Florida, pled guilty, got sentenced, and went away. He served 3 years and came home in October 2025.
And new at 6, Memphis rapper Pooh Shiesty is out of federal prison. Court records show the Memphis native, whose real name is Lontrell Williams Jr., was released from a Pennsylvania facility after serving time for a gun charge in Florida. Williams was sentenced in 2022 to just over 5 years for conspiring to possess firearms tied to drug trafficking and violent crimes. His attorney confirmed the release, saying he's eager to return to the studio and make new music.
That date matters, gang. Keep that in mind now. Foogiano Quayne Khalil Brown, born July 4th, 1993, out of Greensboro, Georgia. He signed to Gucci's 1017 in 2020, a year before Pooh Shiesty. His debut album, A Gutta Baby, hit #1 on the Billboard Heatseekers chart. He was moving right, but then December 2020, he got arrested on a felon in possession charge. Judge gave him a $50 zero bond, told him to stay in Georgia, strapped him with an ankle monitor. What did Foogiano do? Burned the monitor off, took off federal agents, chased him for 3 months before catching him in Memphis in March 2021.
We're talking about Foogiano, the Atlanta-based rapper whose real name is Kwame Brown, is represented by Gucci Mane. Take a look. This is a booking photo just in. U.S. Marshals now say they tracked down the 27-year-old in Memphis last week. They tell us they had been trying to find him for 3 months after he apparently melted off his court-ordered ankle monitor, and they tried to track him down there. At last check, Brown is now being held in a jail in Memphis. We've also learned he's part of an ongoing wrongful death lawsuit stemming from a fatal shooting that happened at a nightclub in South Carolina.
He got 5 years, no bond, been gone ever since 5 whole years, while everything else kept moving. Now here's the part that's about to matter. Reports say that in 2024, when Gucci cleaned house and dropped most of his 1017 roster, the only 2 artists he kept signed were Pooh Shiesty and Foogiano, both locked up, both still under his label. That's the setup. Now let's talk about what was happening outside while they were both sitting down, because this is where things really start shifting. While Foogiano and Pooh Shiesty were doing time, reports say the relationship between Gucci Mane and his artists started falling apart. Details started surfacing through a YouTube commentator named C-Nash, who shared what looked like Instagram DMs on April 22nd. A source close to Foogiano's camp reportedly said it straight. Foogiano is not rocking with Gucci Mane anymore. Full stop. This is someone who grew up looking up to Gucci, naming him as an influence alongside Tia and Lil Wayne, and now he's coming home saying he's done. Why? The source gave the reason, said Gucci didn't send him a single dollar while he was locked up. Not one. And in that world, that means something. Sit with that 5 years in federal custody, signed to the label, and reportedly no financial support the entire time. And it didn't stop there, the source said. Pooh Shiesty felt the same way, 3 years locked up on a gun case, and allegedly saying Gucci didn't hold him down either. Now let's be real for a second. In street culture that matters, money on the books, phone time, legal help, support for family. That's not optional. That's expected, especially from the boss. When you're the label head benefiting off someone's work, you're supposed to hold them down when they fall. That's the code. And that's the energy Foogiano walked back into, but it wasn't just tension on that side, because something way more serious had already gone down, and this is where things turn. Federal, seriously federal. January 10th, 2026, 3 music industry figures land in Dallas, Texas. One of them, Radrick Davis, Gucci Mane himself, the trip. A meeting over a contract dispute involving Pooh Shiesty. According to prosecutors, Pooh arranged the meeting to talk about his deal with 1017. He wasn't happy. He wanted out on paper. This was supposed to be business.
So we're talking about Foogiano, the Atlanta-based rapper whose real name is Kwame Brown, is represented by Gucci Mane. Take a look. This is a booking photo just in. U.S. Marshals now say they tracked down the 27-year-old in Memphis last week. They tell us they had been trying to find him for 3 months after he apparently melted off his court-ordered ankle monitor, and they tried to track him down there. At last check, Brown is now being held in a jail in Memphis. We've also learned he's part of an ongoing wrongful death lawsuit stemming from a fatal shooting that happened at a nightclub in South Carolina.
Now, here's what you need to understand about Pooh Shiesty. At that exact moment, he had just come home in October 2025, but on federal home confinement. That means ankle monitor, limited movement, not allowed to be in Texas, not supposed to be in that studio, and definitely not allowed to have a firearm. Those were the rules. Investigators say were broken. Authorities say the group entered a Dallas studio around 3:43 p.m. on January 10th. What happened next is what led to federal kidnapping and robbery charges.
The complaint alleges that on January 10th of this year, 3 music industry professionals traveled to Dallas for a scheduled business meeting. Lontrell Williams Jr. arranged this meeting purportedly to discuss the terms of his recording contract with one of the victims.
According to the criminal complaint, Pooh Shiesty asked to speak with Gucci Mane privately in a recording room. Gucci walks in inside Pooh. His father, Lontrell Williams Sr., and rapper Big 30 Door shuts. Pooh allegedly pulls out contract termination papers and tells Gucci to sign. They argue, and then things escalate. Prosecutors say that Pooh pulled out what looked like an Axe-style pistol and forced Gucci to sign at gunpoint after that. Gucci's wedding ring, watch earrings, cash taken. Meanwhile, outside that room, things were just as tense. 8 other co-conspirators, some who had traveled from Memphis to Dallas, were allegedly holding the other people in the studio at gunpoint. One victim pushed onto a couch and robbed another grabbed from behind and choked nearly unconscious. And Big 30, authorities say he used his body to block the door, stopping anyone from getting out.
Jr. was on home confinement at the time of the offense, as alleged for a prior firearms conspiracy charge and conviction out of the Southern District of Florida. Towards the end of his prison sentence, he had been granted home detention. Part of the terms of his home detention were that he would not commit another federal offense or possess a firearm.
This is not rap beef anymore. This is a federal kidnapping case, and according to investigators, the evidence is heavy electronic ankle monitor. Data placed Pooh at the scene. License plate readers tracked movement from Memphis to Dallas. Surveillance footage from the studio and nearby spots. Cell phone records, even social media, because hours after the incident, some suspects were allegedly posting stolen jewelry and cash online. A Rolex believed to be taken showed up on Instagram the same day.
Once these 3 men were inside the recording studio, Williams Jr. and 8 co-conspirators, several of whom traveled from Memphis, Tennessee, executed a coordinated armed takeover. As alleged, Williams Jr. produced an AK-style pistol and forced one of the victims to sign a release from the recording contract at gunpoint. The remaining conspirators displayed firearms and robbed the other victims of Rolex watches, jewelry, cash, and other high-value items. One of the victims was actually choked by one of the defendants to the point of near unconsciousness. Defendant Wright barricaded the studio door with his body to prevent the victims from escaping.
And then there's Pooh's father. Investigators say he played a key role in planning it, right down to stopping at a Staples hours before the meeting to print out the contract paperwork.
Further in the complaint, within hours of leaving the Dallas studio, a number of the defendants were on social media displaying some of the items that appeared to be the jewelry that had been robbed from the victims. The charging document outlines some of the evidence, just some, establishing the defendant's roles in the federal offense. This is as follows: electronic monitoring data placing Williams Jr. at the offense location, which would put him in violation of his home detention conditions. Cell phone records and license plate reader data corroborating the coordinated travel of multiple defendants from Memphis, Tennessee to Dallas. Rental car records confirming Williams Sr. rented a vehicle that was used by the group. Surveillance footage from the offense location, a nearby office supply store, and a hotel where several of the defendants stayed.
The U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Texas, Ryan Raybould, labeled Pooh Shiesty the ringleader, saying the group used violence and intimidation to push what they claimed were business goals. A federal judge denied his release. "I find that the weight of the evidence against you is strong, Judge," Renee Harris-Tolliver told him directly in court, "and this right here, gang, is the foundation for everything that follows." Now, here's where things start shifting, and where the narrative begins to flip on Gucci Mane. Less than 2 weeks after all, 9 defendants were arrested on April 10, 2026. Gucci drops a track title, a crash dummy produced by Zadov and his longtime collaborator Classic Trap feel that old school Gucci energy, but the lyrics sound like a near play-by-play of what allegedly went down in that studio. "Let me break it down for you," he says. "I tell the truth, you went out like a real crash dummy. And after all that, boy, you still signed to me. Then I walk in the room. You can feel the pressure building and dab me up. Their whole time they plotting against me." He adds a pen to the paper. "But it's under duress. I thought it was a business meeting, but it was a setup." He even takes shots at Pooh's father. "You learn from your daddy, so I guess that it's hereditary, and at big 30. And you're fat, flunky," he is stone cold. Junkie then closes with, done been betrayed now. My heart turned cold. Now on paper, if this was just a diss record aimed at someone dissing you publicly, it might hit different. But here's the real layer. An FBI agent testified that Gucci Mane gave a statement to law enforcement about the alleged robbery and kidnapping. Special Agent Pamela Hansen revealed in court that investigators relied on statements from Gucci and the other alleged victims. So now you've got Gucci reportedly giving a police statement, then dropping a diss track that basically retells the situation in detail, and the internet lost it. Everybody started asking the same question. Is this snitching? Freddie Gibbs jumped on Instagram stories, played the track, and said, "N snitched on a Zadov beat. That's crazy." He even captioned it, "This ain't gotta be AI." Then 6ix9ine, yeah, the most talked about snitch in hip-hop over the last decade, went all the way in. He pulled up old clips of Gucci saying he'd never cooperate, never snitch, never fold, and played a crash dummy right after back-to-back. The irony? Loud 6ix9ine said so. Now y'all I've been saying this for 5 years. Uncle Murda weighed into saying, "You can't sound like a civilian after being a gangster for 20-something years." D. Academic spoke on it. Whack 100 gave his take more measured, but even he couldn't fully defend it. Then there's another layer. Waka Flocka Flame once Gucci's right-hand man before their fallout over contracts and unpaid royalties back in 2013. On April 9th, Waka performed at Atlanta's State Farm Arena during a hard and dot paint. A clip went viral where it sounded like he both shouted out and dissed Gucci in the same breath. People thought Waka was about to pile on, but he shut it down fast, posted on Instagram. "Y'all reaching with the Gucci shti be better and stop putting me in hate." In the same sense later, he added, "Well, none of my business, and honestly," that says a lot. Waka didn't celebrate it, didn't jump in, because he knows this is bigger than rap. This is federal territory. But right in the middle of all this chaos, nobody saw this next move coming. Another piece enters the board April 2026, 5 years after burning off his ankle monitor and running from the feds. Quayne Khalil Brown Foogiano walks out of prison. First image we see, posted by No Jumper. He's smiling, grill shining, caption, "No more free food. The culture reacts instantly. People are hyped. They want music. They want to see if he and Gucci will reconnect, rebuild, get back to business. He's been gone 5 years. The label's been turbulent. Can they fix it?" The answer came quick. Leaked Instagram messages told the story first. A source close to Foogiano's team reportedly said, "A Foogiano not effing with Gucci Mane." When asked about a crash dummy, the response: "He thinks it's snitching and he doesn't respect it, so Foogiano didn't come home neutral. He assessed everything." What happened with Pooh Shiesty, the alleged police statement, the diss track, and made a call. According to his site, a crash dummy crossed a line, but the real statement wasn't in DM, it was. Public Foogiano reposted a message that read, "We doing our time and making it back to our loved ones without taking another man away from theirs. We not respecting that rat shti at all. From the streets to the state to the feds, we standing on business. Welcome home, Foo." Then Foogiano added his own line: "You even after the grave, y'all. Gotta understand, that's not just a phrase, that's a stance. That's loyalty being declared beyond life itself in street culture that carries weight." And then came the move that shook everything. Foogiano changed his Instagram profile picture to Pooh Shiesty, not a throwback, not promo, a current image of a man sitting in federal custody facing life, accused of robbing and kidnapping Foogiano's own label boss.
His father, Lontrell Williams Sr., is alleged to have helped plan and execute the federal kidnapping as charged in the complaint.
9 people were federally charged. All 9 face up to life in prison if convicted.
This week, 9 individuals, including well-known musical artists, kidnapped and robbed at gunpoint numerous victims at a music studio in Dallas, Texas. 8 of the 9 were arrested yesterday in Dallas, Memphis, and Nashville. These individuals who are charged and arrested include Lontrell Williams Jr., also known as Pooh Shiesty, Lontrell Williams Sr., Rodney Wright Jr., also known as Big 30, Kadarius Waters, Demarion Gibson, DeMarcus Glover, Corday Johnson, Darian McDaniel, and Terrence Rogers has not been arrested yet, but will be.
Foogiano looked at everything: the alleged statement, the track, the 5 years with reportedly no support, and made Pooh's face his identity online. That's not subtle. That's a statement in today's world. Your profile picture is your flag, and Foogiano just raised Pooh's. That means he's no longer publicly worthy. Aligned with Gucci Mane, he's aligned with the man at the center of Gucci's legal situation. The internet exploded because now this isn't just Gucci versus Pooh anymore. There's a third figure, someone who stayed loyal to 1017 for 5 years behind bars, who just came home and immediately chose the opposite side. Let me zoom out for a second, because this is bigger than all 3 of them. What we're seeing is a collision between 2 worlds. Hip-hop always tried to balance the music business and the streets, and right now, that collision is producing real consequences. Legally, the situation is serious. Fingerprints from the studio social media posts showing stolen jewelry. 9 defendants, total Poohs. Father involved, Big 30 involved, a judge already saying the evidence is strong. That's major legal pressure. And from the government's view, Gucci Mane is the victim, allegedly forced at gunpoint, made to sign paperwork, robbed with people around him, assaulted from a legal standpoint. Speaking to law enforcement as a victim is not the same as being an informant, but culturally, that's where things split in the world. Gucci built his name, and the code is the code. You don't cooperate, period. That's what he rapped about. That's what he lived. That's what built his image. So now the culture is divided. Some see a victim, others see a contradiction, and Foogiano just made his position loud without saying much. But here's the deeper issue. Nobody's really focusing on this. Whole situation shows something broken between the industry and the streets. Real lives are involved. Pooh's father is locked up. His circle is facing life sentences. Big 30 caught in it. Foogiano just came home and is already pulled into chaos before even dropping new music. And at the center, a contract dispute, music paperwork, royalties business that allegedly escalated into kidnapping charges and federal indictments. That's what happens when street solutions meet business problems, and it's tragic. Pooh Shiesty had star power. A Back in Blood was a defining record. He could have had a long run. Now he's in federal custody. Big 32 Foogiano just got out and is already in the middle of this storm. And Gucci Mane, a legend, now being called a snitch by some, a victim by others. There are no clean winners here, but let's focus on Foogiano's move because it matters first. He's still technically signed to 1017, so this isn't just personal, it's business second. He knows the seriousness of Pooh's case and still chose that side. That tells you where his loyalty is. Third, his words and posts. That kind of messaging during an active federal case doesn't go unnoticed. This situation has gone from label tension to federal case to full-blown public war, and the man who was supposed to stand with Gucci just planted his flag on the other side. Let's recap. January 10th, 2026, Gucci Mane allegedly robbed and held at gunpoint in a Dallas studio. 9 people charged, strong evidence. April 10th, Gucci drops a crash dummy. The culture reacts. April 2026, Foogiano comes home, distances himself from Gucci calls. The track snitching reposts anti-rat messages and sets Pooh Shiesty as his profile picture. The lines are drawn now. Here's what comes next. Pooh Shiesty's legal team says their version will be different. His lawyer, John Helms, said if things are not always what they seem, that story will come out in court. And when it does, it's going to be major. Meanwhile, Foogiano is outside publicly aligned against his label boss. What happens now? Does Gucci respond? Does he drop more music? Does he stay quiet? Does this escalate? One thing is clear, the 1017 camp has fractured. The 2 artists Gucci held on to have both turned away, one allegedly through action, the other through public stance. Real recognize. Real, but right now nobody's seeing eye to eye. Drop your thoughts below. Is Foogiano right? Is Gucci a victim or something else? Mine are they. What happens next? Subscribe if you're new. We're tracking this story closely. Stay up, gang. Stay